Hello, everybody, and welcome back to CADS. We are here to talk about the West Ham game. For a while, it looked like it would be game over for West Ham, but they managed to hit the reset button and get back into the game. Unfortunately for those of us on the Spurs side of things. It was fun, though. There was definitely some good stuff, but we've got some people here to talk about it and give me their thoughts. I've got three people here tonight. Going to start with Austin. So hello, Austin.
Hi, all.
There we go. Let's all remember this is an audio session, and just waving at the camera doesn't do a lot of good. Ashley, how you doing?
I did say hi, all.
I know you did. Starting with a wave. Ash, how you doing?
Gorgeous day in LA.
Another one.
Yeah, exactly. It rhymes. Gorgeous day in LA. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Indeed. And John joining us again 2 times in a row. Thank you for coming. How are you doing?
Now I've got the feel for it. Yeah. Hi and welcome, everyone. Or shall I say hello?
There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about yesterday. My initial thoughts, an enjoyable game. Not particularly an enjoyable result, but there was definitely some good things. I thought potentially our best performance in a match since those first 10 games. I thought we had some really, really good things going on, and things started to look like they were clicking up front, which was very nice to see. Am I the only one there? Anybody else had some thoughts?
Yes.
I've got to tell you, I mean, as you know, I went to the match yesterday.
Yeah.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because what I'm hearing from, like yourself, or heard on the radio, people say it was quite an enjoyable game, etc., etc. And I've got to tell you, my view is completely different. Because, well, firstly, I mean, you know, it's such a horrible stadium to go to. Yeah. There's worse appointed stadiums than that. But in terms of, it's just not a football stadium. And you know, I was in row 71 with the running track around the perimeter of the pitch and all that lot. You're like miles away. Even when they were at our end of the pitch, I still couldn't clearly make out who was who, and I felt as if I wasn't even part of the game. To me, it's just a horrible. It's just a horrible experience. It really is, and so consequently, my view of the game is that I felt like I was remote, and I didn't. I mean, I say a lot of people thought it was a really enjoyable game. Me personally, I didn't enjoy it really. I mean, you know, I can see there's some good aspects of our play, but overall, we didn't create an awful lot as far as I'm concerned.
Austin?
I thought the good aspects of the game were Werner and Johnson seemed to have some good attacking movements, and they both put crosses in, which didn't come to anything. The downside, I think our passing from midfield forward is dreadful. With so many times we play the ball forward and it's cut out by a defender coming to meet the ball ahead of the player that the ball's intended for. And that frustrates the hell out of me, because movements break down. Movements that look like they could be promising break down. And it happens so frequently. It's happened in certainly the last 3 games that I've watched. I didn't see the previous game against, what's the faces?
Luton.
I can't remember who. Luton. I only saw the highlights of that. But the last 3 games I've watched, we seem to have lost the ball so many times. And it's almost like we're giving them possession too freely.
Nothing is as bad as the Fulham game when it comes to that, though, because we were just giving it up so badly against Fulham.
Yeah.
Ash?
Yeah. I did a listen along with my Welsh buddy John, who lives in Paddy and Key West. We know each other a lot. He's from Ponty, I'm from Newport. And first of all, West Ham are just such an ugly, what John was right, ugly stadium, ugly team, David Moyes. So that's not good. I was so blasé about the meh result. I almost didn't want to come on this podcast today. I was going, you know, I got work to do. I just don't want to. I don't want to rehash what didn't make me happy you know. And I've been waiting. Oz made some really good points. I think one of the issues, apart from set pieces, one of the other issues is our midfield. Why isn't that midfield clicking? Why are we giving passes away? Why aren't we doing what we did in the first 10 games? And we even got Bentancur, who wasn't even in those first 10 games. We've even got him involved. So definitely, I think the fulcrum for me personally is that we're not clicking. There's no magic stuff happening in the middle of the field. And then set pieces is really horrible.
Yeah,
you do know that Bentancur is playing with a broken toe, don't you?
Yeah, I know. But you know what? Everyone plays injured. You know, they all play injured. I've worked with athletes. I've written blogs with athletes. They all play injured, you know. Oh, yeah. Come on, you know, somebody else has got what? Dave Mackay played with a broken leg. You know that, Oz.
It's the exception when they're all fit. It's very much the exception when they're properly fit.
Absolutely.
To me, then they're just not playing as fluidly as they did at the start of the season.
John?
Well, no, I don't. But and as we said, as we were talking about the other day, I mean, I thought, you know, and some of those players like Madison and like Suma, you know, they're not on the top of their game at the moment. I mean, and here's another thing for you. I mean, you know, I look at our defense in particular. You know, with the new players of like Van der Ven and Ndoggy, and obviously Romero's a World Cup winner and all this lot, and yet we're conceding these silly goals. I mean, and yet to me, individually, they're all very good defensive players. So what is it, and why is it we score enough goals, but as somebody there was somebody was saying there's a the difference between us and Villa and the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, and City is that whereas we scored a reasonable amount of goals compared to the other teams, defensively we've let in a lot more goals. Us, I think we've let in 44 and Villa have let in 42. Mm-hmm. And the others have let in they're in the 20s, and that is the real difference. We just give goals away, too easily, as was the case last night.
Absolutely. I don't know if you saw it, John, but Alistair Gold made mention of it. John and I were watching that game, and John didn't see that guy who scored the goal. Was it Zuma? He was literally on Vicario's right-hand post, unmarked on the post. Maybe we were doing zonal defense. He literally walked into the middle of that scrum. Nobody went with him, and he didn't even head it. It went off his back. And I'm going, what the heck? Why was nobody even tracking him? Or somebody was supposed to track him, and they didn't track him. So once again, John, you were totally right. Individually, really good performers. But why the simple things, giving up stupid goals like that? I don't get it.
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw the analysis, but they looked at that one and they said Maddison, I believe it was supposed to be tracking him, and he started tracking him. But I think the point was that they were using Maddison to stop Zuma from interfering with Vicario. As a friend of mine said, we've got the only vicar that hates crosses. But once Zuma went away from Vicario, Maddison just stopped tracking him, and that's why he got a free header or a free back.
Well, I mean, to me, that's a mismatch. Absolutely. I mean, it's a mismatch. Maddison and Zuma. That to me, that doesn't work. And also, of course, since the what was the game Vicario when they it was Man City game, wasn't it? It was the first Man one City, in the cup. Yeah. And obviously, so since then, they do their best all the time. They see it's a weak point with him, and they try and impede him. Sometimes the referees are strong, and sometimes they're not. I mean, I'm not saying that necessarily was the case last night, but they certainly were. West Ham, as any David Moyes team does, works very much on their set plays, and we just couldn't contend with it. They caused us all sorts of problems throughout last night, to be honest, from set plays.
Do you think that Vicario should just care less and just go pounding through those guys? Because really, the ref's probably not going to call it if he does it, If he elbows them, punches go through their head, whatever. What if he just goes through them? They're probably not going to call it.
I just think that the when they're setting up the corner, they have to make sure that he's protected and don't let somebody just impede him and stuff like that.
Mhm.
You know, and if he doesn't make it obvious to the referee, that's exactly what's that's what's going on. I mean, look, listen, Vicario, I think has been an excellent addition to the team, but that's the weak area for him, isn't it?
Absolutely. But
I disagree, John. I don't think it's a weak area.
I've seen one guy in front of him and one guy behind him. So if you got one Spurs player helping out, they've still got two guys pushing in from the front and the back. Anyway, it needs to be dealt with. Sorry, Oz.
I don't think it's a weak area for Vicario. I think he's being fouled, full stop. And I think I think we should make points to the referees and say, look, I mean, Arsene Wenger, Alex Ferguson, they made so many complaints about referees and decisions. We should, and Ange doesn't. He should make a big noise about the fact that these people are sitting on our goalkeeper and deliberately fouling him. It's a foul, full stop. There's no argument to it. It's a foul.
Apparently, a complaint has gone in, but it's not come from Ange. It's come from other people within the club. So the FA have been made aware that we were unhappy with it. But I don't think it's in Ange's nature to moan about stuff. He's very much find a problem and find a way around it and get on with it type of guy.
I did notice that when Højbjerg came on, Højbjerg stood in front of the goalkeeper to protect him.
Mm.
Well, that's to me that's what's needed to be done. I mean, and even what I'm saying that they have to devise some kind of system where he gets. I don't disagree with you about him being fouled. And look, and you're in the hands of what that particular referee is all about. Some will give the goalkeeper the foul, and others will like the one against Man City don't. And it becomes it becomes when that they make a statement and they say, well, we think that Vicario wasn't strong enough against City. It's like okay, well this is the way it's going to go now, and so we have become victims in my opinion, or Vicario has become a victim of that kind of manhandling that's going on in the penalty box. But at the end of the day, we've got to devise some kind of system to make, and one of those things, and you're right, Austin, they've got they have to make a Mourinho or Wenger or Ferguson. They would, in a run up to any match at the weekend, they'd always say something and sow some sort of something in the referee's mind, and that's what we need to do. I've often felt that we're too nicey when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Oh, no, definitely too nicey. That's I don't think that's any doubt about that. But we have been for a long time. I don't see it changing.
Say Christian Romero's nicey, but that's another story.
No.
Well, that's true.
Having said it, he hasn't been booked for quite a while now. Amazingly,
he hasn't been booked this year. Yeah, doing very well.
Yeah.
He's a good player. We've got two centre backs that I think are probably the best two centre backs in the league.
Well, I say on the face of it, I agree with you, but defensively, we're letting in goals.
I have no idea what Ash is up to. He's putting on his cravat.
Ash, behave yourself.
There we go. Just putting on a top.
I am.
Some of us come readily prepared in our hoodies, mate. It's fine. Yeah, so I mean, I do think this is going to be an issue. I don't know. Obviously, you do listen out to other podcasts and things like that. But if you listen to, I think it's the Echo of Glory this week, they had an interview with Thomas Broy, who played for Ange in Australia. Really good interview. And obviously the man is very, very taken with our current manager. And he was there. He was one of the early players that were brought in during Ange's time. And he says, yes, there were some teething issues, and things to get past. And there were injuries like we've had. He said, but after a couple of seasons, all the injuries were done. The players were used to playing and training the way that we do. and everything was sorted out, and we knew the movements, and we had everything done, and it worked really, really well. So it's
No,
just a matter of time, as far as I'm
I,
concerned.
I said that the other day. I mean, you can see he's got a clear plan,
Mhm.
and this isn't the finished thing yet. So look, don't get me wrong. I'm not. Forget the performance yesterday. I mean, it's not the end of the world getting a point against West Ham. We're going to drop points in our final 9 games, as will Aston Villa, as will Manchester United, and it's. I just go back to what for me yesterday. Even though I was there, my view of the game was very, very clouded. It just wasn't. I keep said because my son is in Florida at the moment, so I went with his friend. We went to the match, and I said I don't even know why I bothered going to West Ham. I just do not enjoy the experience, and the stadium. I said I just felt as if I wasn't actually part of the. I was watching the game from a distance, and so you probably got a better view of the match yesterday than I did. In truth.
Well, there was one period where we were completely dominant. We had 91% of possession for a good 15 minutes, and we were all over them. The only thing was we didn't really have that thrust towards the goal. It came down to that final ball, but all the build-up play was really good. We were around their box for ages, and every time they got the ball.
What did Fabianski have to save? I mean, I can't really remember him making so many saves. In all honesty,
neither one.
He had a pretty solid game, though. He had a few saves to make. It wasn't easy for him.
Yeah, so what you're getting at there, Stu, is what I was saying earlier about something's missing in the midfield for the final third. Here's my question to Ange. He literally said yesterday, as a journalist, I would have asked, and I'd be probably kicked out. He said we're not the finished product, which is what John also just suggested. Just fair enough. But Ange, do you have an ETA when that finished product is coming? It seems to me this is not going to happen this season. Once getting back, Stu, what you just said, your friend or that person who said he had played with Ange, it took a little bit. So it's not going to happen.
Not my friend.
So it's not going to happen this season. So what? Last 3 games, loss, win, draw. Since those first 10 games, we really, really, really have been a 500 team. There have been 57 points on offer, and we have 28 of those 57 points, which is less than half. So my point being that if that's what teething is, it's kind of, it's not that great. Yes, okay. It's going to be better next year? Hopefully so, but it's not that great.
Well, Ange is actually funny. He said in the press this week, that fourth isn't the be all and end all. And what he sees is that next season he wants us to actually be challenging for the title. And now, that is refreshing, because I can't ever remember Conte or Mourinho ever alluding to that. I can't remember if Poch would have said. Poch, his take on it was, that the only things worth winning was the Premier League or the Champions League. But, he's very positive, isn't he, Ange? And he's saying, yes, we are going to go for the top. I want to be challenging for the title next season. And,
we're not going to unless we bring in some more depth, and we actually, just getting back to what Stu just said, where that final third. Okay, Maddison, why is he so off the boil? He was like probably the best guy in the Premier League in those first 10 games. And there was a joy about him, the darts celebration, and there were articles about him, and he's got his own private box. And now it's like, what happened?
Well, maybe you can tell me. I mean, I've read about it. I mean, but apparently when he got substituted yesterday, he didn't look particularly happy. I mean, I haven't seen the game over on the. I didn't watch it again when I got home, but apparently he didn't look particularly happy. And I think that's the 3rd game in a row he's been substituted in about the 65th minute or something. apparently.
Well, it was a thing at the start of the season. Both Maddison and Son were both getting taken off around the 70-minute mark in every single game for about 5 games straight. And you look at it and you go, clearly they're not fully fit because they're not trusted to do 90 minutes. Now, Son still doesn't look 100% to me. He's a great player. I love Sonny, but he doesn't look 100% to me. He's still not as sharp as you'd expect him to be. And Maddison, I don't think he's come back from his injury the same player he was before. That's not to say he won't get there, but
I think it's clear
a little bit.
It's clear he's not, and also I'll give credit to West Ham here in so much as I actually think that they played Son very well. I mean, he's got a good record against them, and I think that Moyes was very mindful of that, and he was going to make sure that it was going to be very difficult for him. So, in fairness to West Ham, they did play him very well yesterday.
Yeah,
I think
there wasn't a huge number
problem
of chances available to him, really.
Yeah,
I think our biggest problem is we lack a proper striker. We miss so many chances.
I totally agree. I mean, the thing is at the moment he likes to play he likes to play with the wingers, right? And when they come to getting the ball into the box, there's no point in either putting him one low or putting him one high. It can only go low because who's gonna win the ball in the air? We haven't got a Kane there. So the ball's got to be whipped across the box low, and that's and we've scored a few goals that way. So I mean, obviously that's good, but we haven't got an alternative because there's no point. He hasn't got any kind of target, and he hasn't got anybody who can hold the ball up properly in the box. I mean, I don't think Carlson's really that kind of player. In truth, he's probably the best one for us for that, but he's not the best one for it.
I don't know. Do you guys, you watched Ange before, and I didn't, so I can't. I'm asking you guys with Celtic and the other teams. Of course, Barcelona didn't have a number 9, and they won everything. So maybe Ange having a big number 9, like John is just talking about, maybe that's not really a necessity for what he wants to do. Maybe he wants to have those very adaptable, flexible guys. Because that play, that low cross into the box, Johnson is getting better at it. Werner is getting better at it. Maybe that is the way we're going, and maybe we're not really ever going to, replace man for man, like for like Harry Kane.
That's
maybe not.
You can't replace Harry Kane.
You can't.
He's phenomenal.
And you're right. I mean, teams like Barcelona, even Man City, when they had Aguero, they didn't have, your conventional target man like they've got now, Haaland, stuff like that. Maybe he does want us to play that way. But if he does, then the players have got to get into the box so that they've got something to, there's always somebody there. And too often, I think they're too slow in supporting whoever's the forward player, as in the winger or whatever,
I would love
way
Isak
that
at
Ange
the
plays.
club.
Sorry, Austin. The way that Ange plays and the way he was at Celtic, because I didn't watch him before Celtic, but when he was at Celtic, it was very much balls fizzed across low. He's not a manager that likes to play the high ball. But then again, the striker he had at the time was not exactly a big guy, and he was very good at tucking away the balls that were coming in close. So maybe it's just a case of adapting to what he's got at the time. I don't really think we can compare. Yeah, the Japanese guy. His name is currently disappeared from my head.
He didn't have a recognized striker, and I bet you he doesn't go for a recognized striker next season.
I know he's a recognized striker. He got loads of goals.
Yeah.
He's a very nippy. He's the Michael Owen kind of striker, not Harry Kane.
Target
doesn't play the target man, no. But it's very difficult to compare it to Barcelona, who had the world's greatest player at the time. They may not have had number 9, but they had Leo Messi. So
let me ask you all a question then, and that is, I'm not saying this is going to happen. This is going to happen. But say, for instance, there was an opportunity to sign Kane again. Do you think that would be a good thing? Do you think he would fit into the way Ange likes to play?
I think Kane is so intelligent in the way he moves, the way he plays, and Ange couldn't make it work. maybe he's not 100% the fit of what he's looking for, because he's not the small nippy striker that Ange has played with in the past, but he's got such good movement, and his feet are really good. He adapts his positioning and everything so well. I think he'd be brilliant in an Ange system. I think we saw that in pre-season. He was doing very well, but at the same time, I don't expect him to come back.
It's not going to happen.
And genuinely, I'm not sure that we want to bring back a guy who's 31 now and probably has 4 seasons left in him, when we want to be looking to build a side that's going to be dominant for the next 5 years. We don't want to bring in players who we're going to have to replace in the next 2 seasons, because we're going to need to replace. If we bring him in, we need to replace him in the next couple of years, and we need to replace some.
I mean, it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see, come the end of the season. Now Ange has had a whole year with the players. Whether there'll be certain players. I mean, I'm not sure we covered this the other day. There's some obvious players that he's definitely going to try and get out the door. But are there some other ones that he sees now, and he's had a whole year with them? Maybe like Kulusevski, that maybe he thinks, well, he doesn't really fit what I want, and I'm going to try and get somebody else in.
Yeah, and if you're talking about a target man, don't we have one? He's out on low, Velis. If we wanted that option,
he's getting no game time in Spain.
No game of time, but we've also got
they're looking
Troy
at bringing
Parrott
him
as
back
well.
and letting him out again.
Is Parrott a target man? I don't watch.
He's
him.
more of a target man, certainly. But for
I've heard rumours about Parrott, which are not good rumours. As in, there are things that he's involved in, which is hindering his performance on the pitch. And because as we know, we all have high hopes for him. But I'd say there's other players like Dane Scarlett who probably are ahead of him now. To be honest,
the Scarlett's not. Is he a target man? I don't know. Is he? I don't know.
No, he's not. He's not that big, but he's very, very. He's fast. His touch is good, and his finishing is excellent. I've watched him for the under-21s 2 or 3 times, and he really looks like a very smooth player. Probably Rashford-like in some ways, but I think he looks like he might be better than Rashford when he actually comes to the fore.
He was superb for England during the international break. He scored 5 goals or something in 2 games. It was amazing.
And you guys, because you guys watch, wasn't there somebody else in the under-21s who's a kind of a target?
Oh, there's
Lancashire.
Will Lancashire, yeah.
We have Will Lancashire. I don't know if you've seen the highlights from the Aston Villa game. That boy is a unit. He is big. I mean, he's got shoulders. He makes him look like a wardrobe. He's unbelievable.
We have guys like that within the system, right?
Right, he's 19 years old.
You got that Donnelly, haven't you, as well?
Yeah.
And plus,
Jamie Donnelly's more like a Maddison than a centre forward. He's got a lovely left foot.
You've got this other guy. You've got this other guy, haven't we? That we've brought. Who's is he Finland or no? No, he's not. He's Swedish, isn't he?
Swedish lad, yeah.
He's a number 10.
Yeah, so I mean, he looks very promising, doesn't he?
Well, he looks like he could play 6. He looks like he could play 8. He looks like he could play 10. Yeah. I mean,
okay. So Stu, he'll be our Messi, and we won't have to have a target man.
He's not going to be our Messi. There's only one Messi, mate.
Why not? Why not?
We've also got the young Spanish lad that's playing for the under-21s. Santiago. Yeah. He's very, very good.
His movement really reminds me of Sonny. The way he moves about on the pitch, the way he gets into space, and the way he attacks people, very, very much reminds me of Sonny.
He scored a goal in the quarter-final against Villa, where he ran through the defence, played the ball came back off the goalkeeper, and he was following up and he buried it. It was a really good goal.
By the way, Aston Villa are playing City today, right? Nobody's mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's 1-1 at the moment.
I can see that.
Oh, is it?
No.
Who took the lead?
City took the lead.
All right, okay.
Arsenal are still 2-0 up, and Brentford and Brighton are drawing.
What's the score there? 0-0.
Yeah, 0-0
0-0.
there.
All right.
Yeah, Duran equalised after Rodri opener. So
Right, okay. Well, we need City to take. We need City to go ahead. Obviously.
yes, please.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, we're playing at that 500 pace, and possibly, we're going to continue that for the rest of the season. Win, loss, draw. Win, loss, draw. It seems, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be anything that just sort of incites us or just steps it up. I just don't see it happening. I keep wishing for it. It's not happening.
There were shoots.
Yeah.
There were green shoots coming through. That's starting to see the kind of stuff we saw in those first 10 games. Starting to see little bits from Basuma where you're like, okay, he's actually attacking people again and going past people. Not so much in last night's game, but certainly against Luton. There's more to see from a lot of players, and I think if one or two players step things up, we start to look a very, very different side.
Well, yesterday, Bentancur, like for instance, in that first goal, he was terrific. That was one of the things he was doing when he was on the ball a year and a half ago, and that was good to see, right?
Yeah,
I'll take your word for that because it was at the other end.
I couldn't see it so far away.
Honestly, it is. It is. I don't need a pair of binoculars. I need a bloody telescope. It's so far away. It's ridiculous.
I don't. But you moan about it. I don't think it can be as bad as Monaco away. I mean, Monaco is terrible. Running track and pace was dead. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. Did you go to that? Did we draw 1-1 there or something? I can't remember.
I think it was a 1-1 draw there.
That was a soulless. That was a really soulless experience, wasn't it?
Try being in amongst the Monaco fans. So
I remember looking forward to that trip. I thought it would be nice, a nice trip down on the Med and stuff like that. And it absolutely pissed down the whole time we were there.
And they banned beer from the entire town.
One of my worst experiences there.
Yeah, that was no fun. But
so
it was an experience.
You're right. There are some shoots, some little shoots, but I think Bentancur and Maddison, those guys have to get back to their best. If you think there's going to be any change beyond this sort of 500 ball that we've been playing for over 20, almost 20 games now.
I don't agree completely, Ash, because I think the number of chances we miss, if we could increase the percentage of conversions by, let's say, 15 or 20%, then we'd put pressure on other teams and they'd have to come after us, and our game naturally would thrive then. But we're not scoring the goals that we should be.
Well, that to me, they're related, Oz. They're both related. That those guys play better, we get more chances, and yes, we have to be at the sharp end, more lethal at the sharp end. Yes.
I think if we improve in midfield, the quality of chance goes up.
Yes.
It's not just about creating a chance. You can have a chance from 25 yards, but if you've been put through one-on-one, if you've suddenly got some of the chances we were seeing earlier on in the season, they're more likely to put them away.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Let's pivot a little away from the West Ham game. Daniel Levy today has announced that he is in talks with prospective investment, not new owners, but prospective investment. How do we feel about that?
Do we know?
A good thing.
Do we know who they possibly are?
Well, a lot of talk about Qatar-based investment, but it could be absolutely anyone at this stage.
I'd rather get American investment than any Middle Eastern investment, because I just don't want to see that sort of dirty money. Although American money is probably just as dirty.
American money's not greatly clean. Yeah.
In some respects, I don't want any of this money. I would like, I would like to feel that that he runs the club as he is. That the PSR, whatever the FFP thing is called now,
PSR, yeah,
it's properly administered. welcome to my other cat, by the way. And
they're all coming.
yeah.
One every night.
Yeah, you know, if it's properly administered, then I'd like to think that we can carry on as we are. But you know, if he wants to bring the money in here, bring the money in, won't he? You know, but I'm with Austin in that. I'm not overly keen on having this money from Qatar. But having said that, I'm not overly keen on the American money. You know, how many of the American owners have been, to me, good for the English game? I don't. But, you know, the ones that originally went to Liverpool, they weren't any good, were they? Is it Randy Lerner, wasn't he? To Aston Villa, he wasn't any good. You know, the Glazers aren't any good. So I'm not overly keen. I must admit on the Americans either. You know.
Yeah, what we need is those two guys from Wrexham to take over. That'll be good.
Friendly Canadian in money. That's what we need. Yeah, absolutely.
Canadian yeah.
Looking at PSR, I've been looking at PSR today. It's become my latest thing. I've almost got to the point where I want to put a spreadsheet together. That's how good it is. Spreadsheets.
Oh my God.
But yeah, the clubs that look to be struggling: Chelsea, obviously. Everton, yeah, not too great. Aston Villa, apparently Aston Villa have got a bit more wiggle room because they've had some good investments the last few years. But of all the clubs in the list, there's only one club that has made a profit over the last 3 seasons, and that is Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah. So everyone else has lost.
You mean of the big? You mean of the big team?
No, of everyone. There's only one club in the Premier League that's made.
Didn't Brighton make a massive profit, the biggest one ever in the
They made their biggest profit last season, but they had losses before. So over the last 3 seasons, they've lost 125 million.
Right. Okay.
Right. And now there's some I don't know what you call it. There's some money that you can take off each season, something like 75 million that you can take away and say, right, that's for investment into infrastructure and things like that. Contracts, you know. But still, there are some clubs with some real problems. Chelsea, major issues. Everton, major issues. Nottingham Forest, as we know, they've got some problems. Newcastle United have got some issues as well. They don't have a lot of wiggle room left because they've been spending big. They might have to sell Guimaraes. They might have to sell Isaac. So if they want to bring anyone in.
Listen, I think the rules that we have at the moment will change, because you know, it's not a good thing having all these clubs in all these kind of financial problems. I mean, and some of it they're not really. I mean, like Newcastle aren't really in a financial problem, but they you know, obviously they've got to fit in with the regulations. I don't know, Stuart, if you've heard of Simon Jordan. Do you ever listen on TalkSport? I mean, I always listen to him in the morning, and he's
ex-Palace chairman.
Yeah, and what he says, and in a way, I think he's right. That what should happen is, if you get a new owner, then the new owner should be allowed to invest more heavily initially to put his imprint into that club than is allowed at present. I mean, you know, as I said, Newcastle have got the money, but obviously they can't put that money in there at the moment. So in a way, I think there is, you know, the rules do have to change, and it's not a good thing. That, you know, how could it be a good thing to say this season whoever gets relegated is relegated because of points deducted, as opposed to what they do on the football pitch? I mean, you know, if they break the rules and regulations, you know, then they break the rules and regulations. But what I'm saying, we need to get away from that. It's not a good thing in my eye, personally.
I've got no problems with clubs being deducted points for not looking after their finances properly. The issue I have is Manchester City have 115 charges against them, which has been hanging over their head for over a year now. And apparently a date has been set, but we don't know when that is. I mean, we could be going into the end of the season, there'll be an asterisk against 3 or 4 clubs. And one of them will be, oh, well, there's going to be a decision that will be made, but we don't know when it's going to be, and we don't know how bad it's going to be. If anything along the line of Everton, Man City are going to get relegated because their charges are significantly worse than anything that Everton got up to. So, I'd like to see them demoted down to National League. So that'd be great.
Well, I think we all would, and Chelsea for that.
Not going to happen.
I mean, but no, but it's
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. No. So what I was going to say is that again, Simon Jordan, he was saying the thing with the City situation is that they will string it along, and it will probably be near enough 2 to 3 years before you get a definitive. This is what's going to happen to them one way or the other.
Kind of resolution.
Because you're talking about a nation, because it's a nation state, it almost will become political. A bit like the government got involved in the Newcastle situation. It became as kind of a political thing. They were almost told to let them take over at Newcastle, and you can see something similar happening with Man City. But listen, look, because Chelsea are the bane. I hate them. I can't tell you how much I hate them, and I've always said for the last 20 odd years that that we all knew it was all dodgy with the money and stuff like that, and I dearly would love something to happen to them. With City, it's really it's the same thing as well. The only thing is I think City, I mean, look, at the end of the day, watching City play, it's a beautiful thing as far as I'm concerned. They are a great team. Watching Chelsea when they're at their most fluid, it still wasn't enjoyable, was it? They go 1 or 2 goals up, and that was the end of the game, wasn't it? I don't know.
Yeah, well, this thing that came out today, Stu, I didn't see any of it. Were they financials also for revenues for the year, or not? Not for that.
So, for which part? For what's come out today?
Well, there were some financial things that came out today. Was revenues part of it, or what?
Yeah.
So PSR is revenue over the last 3 seasons.
£500 million.
Yeah.
But we lost 50 million.
We still made a loss.
It wasn't 80 million we lost, but as Stuart said,
you're right. It was 80.
But it's to do with the infrastructure which you're allowed to have, and also because of the stadium, our running costs are far greater than any other stadium, and so that's allowable. I mean, did any of you read that article in the Athletic? I think it was this week or last week about the stadium and how the money that they generate through various different things from say to the NFL. It's mind-boggling, really. Levy still gets criticised amazingly, but there you go.
Oh, there were Levy out calls on Twitter today. There was big.
We
didn't win, so therefore the Levy out calls, purple and gold they race ahead.
Yeah,
if we'd won, wouldn't have been anything. So. Yeah.
The way it is, isn't it?
Yeah, sadly. But no, I think the PSR is definitely something to keep an eye on, because it's going to have an effect on the final standings this season. May well have an effect on where we end up, which would be very, very interesting. And keep an eye on that. But I think we're going to call it. Go on, quick, very last quick.
Why do you think it could have an effect on where we stand? I mean, who's immediately around us that's in danger?
Well, Manchester City. Manchester City get hit with more than.
But that's not going to happen this season, is it?
No, there's a very good chance it's going to happen. Apparently, they've set the hearing for this month, so we might find out this month what's going to happen. There will then be appeals, but there's a limited amount of time that they can appeal it. It's got to be sorted out by the end of the season.
Really, I didn't know that. I thought the City thing was going to the hearing was going to be heard in September. That's what I heard. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I mean, that's what I heard.
I'm often wrong.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
often wrong. But I heard April, so I'm hoping for April.
All right. Okay.
But, So there are clubs that are struggling, have struggled to meet the deadlines and the finances, and something to keep an eye on. But one of those clubs we will be meeting in our next game, Nottingham Forest. So they are currently appealing. They're fine. Their points deduction It'd be nice to get 3 points against them.
By the way,
to push
City
them a little bit further down.
City are 2-1 up, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. So, so when are we playing? Let me very quickly check. We are playing
on Sunday. Sunday, 6 o'clock at a very strange time.
Yeah, we're playing on Sunday, so that means we will be back Monday evening. I hope you guys can make it, and look forward to speaking to you then. And as always, until then, come on, you Spurs.